I call the order for the City of Petoskey City Council for February 3rd, 2025. Please rise with me for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Beck, would you please call roll?
Demore. Present. Shields is absent. Nachtrab. Walker is absent. Murphy.
Present. We have a quorum. Next is the oath of office to the Ward 3 Council Member, Joe Northrop. And if you'll stand and Sarah will come around and would you want to come out in front there?
Yeah.
Think so?
I mean,
I think you're fine right there.
All right, can you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear that you support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of Michigan, that you will, in all respects, observe the provisions of the city charter and the ordinances of the City of Petoskey, and that you will faithfully discharge the duties of Ward 3 Council Member in which you were appointed in and for the City of Petoskey, County of Emmett, and State of Michigan, according to the best of your ability?
I will.
All right, that's my shake.
I'm left-handed.
And then can you come to sign here, Joe? Right above this dotted line, right?
Well. Congratulations. Next is a consent agenda. It's the adoption of a proposed resolution that would approve the following. January 10th, 2025, amended special session. January 15th, 2025, special joint session. January 20th, 2025, regular session, and the January 24th special session of City Council meeting minutes. It's also acknowledge a receipt of certain transactions that have occurred administratively since January 20th, 2025. Also, I'm looking for the approval along with this consent agenda and confirm Big Water Creative Arts Incorporated as a nonprofit organization. When I go to you, Council, do you have questions, comments, or a possible motion?
I'm happy to make a motion and so moved as set forth in the agenda.
Happy to make a second motion.
I have a motion in a second. I'll go to Ms. Beck for roll.
Demore.
Aye.
Nachtrab.
Aye.
Murphy.
Yes. Motion passes 3-0. Now we're going to public comment. This is your opportunity to step to the podium, hit the lights, turn it green, and give us your full name, full address, and you can address council. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to council at this time? Nobody online either. Okay, we'll move on. Next, it's going to city manager update, and I turn it over to our city manager, Shane Horn.
Thank you, Mayor. As this is our first meeting of the month, I want to take a few moments to celebrate staff birthdays and work anniversaries for the month of February. For February, we have the following staff birthdays: Eric Hoig in Public Safety, birthday today. Bob Kibbe, Electric Department, on February 12th. Matt Miller, our recent hire in Public Works, taken over for Jason's former position on February 12th. Director of Public Safety, February 13th. And Kendall Klingelsmith, Parks and Rec, February 26th. February work anniversaries for staff, Christine Hoff. She's our admin for Parks, Public Works, and Planning and Zoning, celebrating 3 years with the city this month. Gina Ellenberger, Public Safety, 8 years. Kevin Marchinowicz, Public Works, 13 years. John Dutch, Public Safety, 20 years. John Hummel, Parks and Rec, 23 years. And Lieutenant Todd Troxel, Public Safety, 25 years this month. A few things to highlight for City Council and the community overall. This coming Friday is the annual Petoskey Chamber State of the Community. A number of presenters will be presenting from their respective organizations. That starts at 1 o'clock. The doors open, and 1:30 the program begins on Friday, February 7th. Still have a few days to register. If there's any openings or if there's any openings in your schedule, we can certainly get you in to join that. One of the things they ask of organizations is to provide a brief. It's kind of it can be no longer than 2 pages front and back, so it's very condensed, but a kind of an overview of your past year. So in this case, the calendar year of 24. So I wanted to run through that very quickly with City Council. I know you are very intimately aware of these items that we're going to talk about, but I think it's always good to kind of do some reflection. So I try to break this down into your priorities from our action plan. So if we break it down that way, looking at Parks and Recreation, in 24, the engineering and design continued on the Winter Sports Park, the all-season pavilion project, which we have expanded a sense to consider a chiller system as well. In 24, we completed a new roof, windows, and doors on the lodge at the Winter Sports Park. And we're also undertaking master planning of the park and lodge, and that'll start happening the first quarter of this year in 25. Slope restoration of the Little Traverse Wheelway remains a high priority. As you know, we received a $1 million Eagle High Water Infrastructure Grant to assist us with the engineering and design work. We will have final engineering and design ready by the end of March of 25 is the projection. So we're very close to having that. We're excited about that. Now the hard part is going to be finding the resources to pull this all together. So that's the next challenge. Sunset Park improvements were completed in 24, included an accessible pathway around the park, fencing, landscaping improvements, and amenities, picnic tables, benches, and trash receptacles. Annual resurfacing of the wheelway remains an annual capital budget priority as we repair, mill, and resurface sections of the wheelway. So that's ongoing as well. We completed upgrades to the pedestrian bridge behind City Hall with new wood decking materials. Transitioning to infrastructure, we continue to make City Council continues to make an investment totaling over $2.3 million in our infrastructure. We were able to utilize small urban grant funds to resurface East Mitchell Street from Division to the city limit. This work was coordinated with Emmett County Road Commission as they expanded the project from the city limit to Division Road in Bear Creek Township. Bayview Avenue was a full street reconstruction, including curb and gutter, sidewalks, and water upgrades. Street resurfacing projects in 24 included paving and resurfacing, repairing sections of Rose Street, Winter Park Lane, and Balsam Avenue. Undergrounding of electric utility lines along Michigan Street, Grand Avenue, Fairview Avenue, Sunset Avenue, Jennings, and portions of Howard Street, Jefferson, and Waukezu continues an investment that has currently resulted in 78% of all electric infrastructure being buried in the city. Public safety. Police, fire, and emergency medical services are provided through a unified Department of Public Safety. department staff of 20 sworn officers handled a record high 9,463 requests for service in 2024. Code enforcement officer works closely with planning and zoning and public safety to enforce property maintenance, rental, zoning, and general ordinances of the city. In 24, we addressed 406 cases, with majority of complaints closed with voluntary compliance. Public safety, in collaboration with Petoskey Public Schools, added a second school resource officer, Officer Donovan, who spends majority of his time at the middle school, joins Officer Carlson, who has been at the high school since December 22. Housing. The city, along with our partners, helped provide assistance and support for several housing developments. These are recurring. These things obviously take multiple, typically in a lot of cases, multiple years. So as we know, we've been working on the Maple Block location for a few years now. So that's a 200-unit mixed-use development. The city has provided brownfield tax increment financing incentives to support affordable workforce housing initiatives there. Also supporting 660-unit development at the Lofts at Lumber Square on Emmett and Fulton, between Fulton and Washington Street. We provided brownfield tax increment financing incentives to support that development as well. MEDC, Michigan Economic Development Corporation, provided revitalization and placemaking rehabilitation funds to support 5 workforce housing units above City Park Grill. Redevelopment of the former Hotel Del Rey is ongoing, we'll create 9 workforce housing units on Emmett and Michigan Street. And as you know, the city received $500,000 in MSHDA grant funds for homeowner improvement projects. We are partnering with Northwest Michigan Habitat for Humanity to assist us in facilitating this opportunity for income qualified homeowners. And then the last category, community engagement. Parks Department hosted 2 community cookouts at Washington and Curtis Parks in 24 to engage with area residents and gather input on master planning concepts for park improvements in the future. Also, the Art Commission approved a mural for the tunnel, which was completed in October 2024. An installation for Sunset Park will be considered for later in 2025. Reauthorization of the former Petoskey Youth Advisory Council was completed, and we appointed council member Demore as council liaison. We have collaborated with Bear Creek Township and Resort Township on a Petoskey area expanded water and wastewater regional capacity evaluation. That's a long title. Which was supported by grant funds from the Michigan Department of Agriculture and Rural Development. We're in the last stages of finalizing that document, and we'll be presenting that shortly. Planning Commission continues to work on zoning ordinance reform measures supported by a $50,000 MSHDA Housing Readiness Incentive Grant. So obviously there was much more that could have been discussed, but we were again limited on how much space we had available to us. So that's kind of a quick overview of that state of the city document that will be in that packet. Upcoming meetings in the next week to two weeks. Tomorrow we have a zoning board of appeals meeting. One item on the agenda for that's tomorrow at 6 p.m. The Youth Advisory Council is going to try to meet again. We've had a reshuffle based on some weather issues, but this is the next scheduled date is Monday, February 10th at 6 o'clock here in this room. Same night, Parks and Recreation Commission will be meeting in the community room at 6 o'clock as well. And the Art Commission meets for their monthly meeting on Thursday, February 13th, and that is at noon. Wanted to highlight as well, the weekend of February 14th is again our Winter Wonderland weekend. Downtown Petoskey will be filled with all sorts of activities and hopefully bringing visitors to enjoy our community and spend their resources here in our wonderful community. We've been blessed with some more consistent winter weather. So Winter Sports Park has been very busy in the evenings and on the weekends. So we will be having participating in Winter Wonderland Weekend, kind of a throwback to Winter Fun Day at the Winter Sports Park. That'll be Saturday, February 15th. We'll be hosting the historical bump jump competition at 11 a.m. on that Saturday. All of our facilities will be open skating, hockey, sledding all day, wrapping up with the cardboard challenge at 6 p.m. So we encourage people to participate downtown and also participate that weekend at Winter Sports Park. And that is my report. Happy to answer any questions.
We have sure, you guys, city council as well, especially staff have covered a lot of areas this last year. Housing at 274 units that have been worked on over the last 2 years, but are going to be coming to fruition. I think it's real admirable that the city is providing that much more workforce housing to the city, to the community, and to the county. So that's all. Mr. Moore.
Yeah, I have a follow-up question or just put a concern on the record. And I know I've shared this with the city manager. I have received a number of concerns from constituents about sidewalk conditions this winter. And I know we have more snow, but these are coming from folks that have lived here through these conditions before. So I just kind of want to confirm that we've reached out because we have a new provider to make sure the provider understands our expectations and the importance of proactivity. So it's a question, kind of a counterpoint to it's great at the Winter Sports Park, but it's caused some concerns for constituents. Thank you.
I talked to Shane about this as well the other day. And he is looking into it, which he always does. And I'm sure we'll come up with something that will be agreeable to the citizens. When you change over from one group of workers to another, at times you have some differences in communication and expectations. So
Well, I look forward to the follow-up. Thank you.
that it? Okay. Next is the appointments, and I'm bringing forward the council. Let you know I'm appointing Cody Wilcox to the Parks and Rec. He's been on the board for 3 years, been actively involved. He's also on the Friends of the Winter Sports Park. He has several children. I believe he lives on Willis. Is very involved in the community and looks forward to wanting to continue to work on it. He's been in Petoskey 15 years, but he did grow up in Petoskey as well. Graduated from Petoskey High School. So I take it to you for a possible motion second.
I'm happy to make that motion.
And I'll do the second.
Thank you. I go to City Clerk Beck for roll.
Demore,
Aye.
Knopfler,
Aye.
Murphy.
Yes. Motion passes 3-0. Welcome Cody again for another several years. New business, adoption of a proposed resolution regarding the use of parking fund revenues. I turn it over to City Manager Horn.
Yeah, this comes out of our combined meeting with Downtown Management Board and City Council, kind of looking back at the in 2018, in December of 18, City Council passed a resolution that kind of provided direction when fees were increased to kind of set aside funds for a parking structure, if you will. For future parking structure. For a lot of various reasons, we're not moving in that direction currently. So the discussions started evolving. While we're not looking to build a structure currently, we still have to invest in our infrastructure, our flat city lots, which we're doing in 25 with the Seville lot. So the discussion was, instead of potentially holding up or reserving those funds for a future parking structure, opening up those funds to allow us to kind of continue to invest in infrastructure on our flat lot. So so everybody was clear on what we're doing in the future. And if obviously if there's a change in direction from city council to whether it's through a private public partnership, where things open back up and we are able to potentially consider a structure, certainly we will evaluate that. But for the next foreseeable future, we will be continuing to invest in our city lots on the flat lots, using those funds that have been accumulated as a result of those increases. So our downtown manager is here to be available for questions as well, but we believe this is consistent with what you've asked us to do. Essentially, we'll rescind the December 17th, 2018 resolution and replace it with the resolution that's in front of you. Happy to answer questions, get feedback.
I think it's important to do this. At the time of 2018, there was somewhat of a push for a parking ramp on the old Michigan Street lot, better known as the Darling lot. Better known as the Darling lot. A lot of, if you've been around, it's the Spencer's parking lot. But anyway, what's happened is city council met with the downtown management board, and it was discussed and felt that it would be appropriate to not continue to save the extra funds that were approved by the city council for meter rate increases. And I think we did not have a parking problem of the magnitude that a large parking ramp would take, especially when you're talking of $10 to $20 million. So I think it would behoove us to always take care of what you have first. The maintenance of what we have is to me is number one. And I believe that these funds are needed to maintain what we have now in our parking lots. And that's not just the parking space, it's the landscaping, it's the shrubbery, it's the curb, the gutter, it's the lighting, it's all of that process at once, which over time does break down and does need to be replaced. So I'm totally in favor of doing this. Joe?
I do have a couple of questions. Question one is, how much funds have been accumulated? What's the balance? I didn't really look at the budget.
Hi, Amy Tweeten, downtown manager. The parking fund balance has about 1.5 million in it.
Okay. My second question is it the city's responsibility to maintain the parking lots anyway? And is this just a shifting of money? Or because it's my own historical recollection was that these parking funds were going to be some good incremental things to the downtown area for parking. And is it just a big, massive shift of money? Would we have to maintain this anyway without spending the $1.1 million out of our general fund?
So you're correct. The parking fund does maintain the parking lots. And we'll continue to, but what we've seen when we did our past 5-year capital improvement plan is that we have these lots that need to be reconstructed over the next 2 to 3 years. And we'll be going into the fund balance anyway to do those projects. Otherwise, we won't do them. So it's more saying rather than we are holding this money aside and we're not going to be upgrading our lots, it's freeing up the money to be used to upgrade the lots that we have.
So if I understand what you're saying is there was no money in the capital budget nor plan to upgrade these parking lots anyway. Because I hear what you're saying is it's freeing up money to do it because it wasn't there's no money in the capital budget. I think you understand what I'm trying to get to is this a way to reduce our capital funding monies that we would normally have to do anyway? That's what I'm trying to get to.
Well, we started down a road of, we started this when Becky was still here, that we were going to start investing in our flat lot. So as we put our capital budget together, we were going to start knocking off a resurface or a reconstruct of our flat lots using our capital improvement plan as that mechanism. So certainly we're not going to try to bite this all off at one time. We're going to kind of do it incrementally. Next year we'll do one. We'll probably plan out the next 3 years. And depending on how that flows, we'll be probably bringing that money or that allocation down to be able to pay for those reconstruction of those flat lots. So we'll keep the fund where it's at. We'll obviously maneuver it as we need to make sure that we can get these lots upgraded over the course of the next 3+ years or so.
What happened in 2018 was there was an increase on what the meter rate collection was. And I believe that came to roughly what, $50,000 average a year, or not that, 40, 30.
I'm not sure what the actual increase was.
But there was a carryover, but it, after 7 years, did not amount to the 1.5 that's there. So there's been a capital improvement funding into the general fund, the parking fund. This is a small increase that we're talking about that was to be locked in and utilized for a parking structure. But there is obvious we're not going to get there increasing such a little bit at a time. So I felt, and I think council did too at the time at the meeting that we had with them, let's free that up. It's obvious we did not have enough money to go to a parking ramp. So let's take care of what we have and maintain what we have. I think it's also, it looks like on the budget over the next few years, we're kind of hitting a cycle where we're hitting parking ramps that are or parking lots that are going to need to have work on them instead of being staggered every 5 years or 6 years, 4 years. It seems like there's like 1, 2, 3, 4 years in a row that we're going to have to be doing something with these parking ramps to get them up for the next 15 years. Is that correct, Amy?
Correct.
Thank you.
Mr. Moore?
Yeah, I would just also say, I think the purpose of this resolution from my mind is to give clear direction on the use of funds. Because that 2018 resolution was saying they should go toward a structure. And when we recently met with the Downtown Management Board and in previous meetings, there wasn't really interest to move forward with that. So leaving that resolution in place lacks clarity for the DMB as to how those funds should be used. So that isn't exactly what you asked, but it's a side note, so.
I think I understand and appreciate that. My whole thing during that time when it was done, I'm all about wanting the beauty, want this downtown to look good for their visitors.
Yeah.
And that's a huge thing for me personally, is that we maintain it. Landscaping and all that is important from a.
Right.
From an
And the parking fund does contribute to that. The parking fund is what paid for the wayfinding system. The parking fund pays operations of the trolleys. So there is a lot of beautification and placemaking projects that the parking fund actually does pay for.
Do I have a possible motion or more discussion from council?
I'd be happy to make the motion for the resolution. Is that number? I don't know how to.
You can just read off of your agenda.
The whole thing?
Just like adoption of.
Motion for the adoption of the proposed resolution regarding the use of the parking fund revenue.
Support.
I have a motion from Mr. Natrab and I have a second from Ms. Demore. Any other comments from council? Public wish to weigh in on this at all? I go to Ms. Beck for roll.
Natrab,
Aye.
Demore,
Aye.
Murphy.
Yes. Motion passes 3-0. This next item, the discussion on the redevelopment ready communities priority development sites. We're going to table that till next week. We have for 2 weeks because we have 2 individuals on council that are not here And I don't think it'd be real fruitful for us to hash this all through and then turn around and have to hash it totally through for them coming back. So I apologize if you're here for that. I probably should have announced it right away, but I'm asking council to table that and put it on the next agenda.
Yes, please.
Yeah, please.
I would move that the matter regarding the redevelopment ready communities priority redevelopment sites be tabled to our next meeting due to the absence of our colleagues.
Support.
I have a motion from Mr. Moore, a second from Mr. Knobtrop. Any other discussion, council? Does the public wish to speak at this time? We'll be visiting this in 2 weeks. I go to, is there somebody who wishes
No,
to speak?
he's the next item.
Okay, I go to Ms. Beck for roll for the discussion on the RRC postponement.
DeMore,
Aye.
Knobtrop,
Aye.
Murphy.
Aye, yes. 3-0 passes that it will be seen on 2 weeks from now at the next meeting, which will be the 17th of February. Next on the agenda is discussion of the RFP for 106 East Mitchell Street. I'm going to turn that over to City Manager Horn to start the discussion.
Thank you, Mayor. So just some history, the city with city council's concurrence executed an option to purchase agreement for 106 East Mitchell with the owner. We certainly appreciate his willingness to work with us to really our intent was to try to find a partner that would value the historical integrity of the structure. We all know this structure as kind of an iconic house in Petoskey as you come into the city. So we certainly wanted to protect that and support that. And so we entered into an option, a 3-month option with the owner to find a potential partner. We released an RFP request for proposal on December 17th. It was posted on our website. We posted it in the Petoskey News Review and sent this along to several prospective developers. The RFP closed on Tuesday, January 28th. We received 2 submissions. I spoke with several people about the RFP and thinking that we would really get a good group of submittals, but unfortunately we ended up with 2. And I think both of them have their values. Certainly, we have 2 submittals, one from Restore 269. And just a brief overview. I know the developers on the line and certainly can turn it over to him, but he and his wife, he is an architect, worked out of Battle Creek for many years, done a lot of restorations, architectural restorations, historical renovations. They would propose to move their family to Petoskey, rehabilitate the structure, maintain its historical significance. You can read through their proposal and their past work. They're proposing that the investment that they would have in the project would be about $1.2 million. The purchase price in their proposal was $300,000. He has, after this was compiled, he did reach back out and increase that to $500,000, which is still obviously less than what our option with the owner is currently. And so I'm going to run through the second one too, and then I'll turn it over if you would like to Cody just to give an overview as well. The James Group 1 LLC was the second submittal. He has offered to purchase the property for the full $698,000. In talking with Mr. Heidbreder and his group, they would seek to do workforce housing in the main structure. Their proposal goes into different structures as well. a structure at the end of Elizabeth Street, at the dead end, a structure down in the Bear River Valley, kind of under the bridge, if you will, as well. So his is a kind of a multi structure submittal. Really, the focus was on 106 East Mitchell. He kind of moved it into and considered other things as well, but what he envisions is restoring the structure and then also having space for weddings, conferences, conference rooms, other opportunities for people to engage as they're visiting our community as well. So in addition to rehabbing 106 East Mitchell, he would also be looking at 2 additional structures, which remain to be seen. Number one, if zoning, if that's something we could do. He's looking really at a public-private partnership where we would engage with him to see these things come to reality. Obviously, there's some challenges from a zoning, there's some challenges from a right-of-way standpoint. We don't own the bridge, that's MDOT that owns the bridge, so there's challenges there as well. But those were the 2 submittals. I do have of Cody on the line from Restore 269. If council desires, I will kind of turn it over to Cody and he can run through his proposal very quickly. He said about 3 minutes or less is what he mentioned. If you would honor that, that would be great. Cody, can you hear us okay?
Hold on, I gotta undo them.
Yes, good evening. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Yes.
Turn it down.
Perfect. Thank you very much for taking the time this evening. I apologize that I could not be there in person. My wife are community developers. We understand the importance of that and would love to be there, but unfortunately, I, as an architect, had to travel and I am out of town currently. So if this were to go to a vote, we would be at the next meeting. But here I'm just today to kind of give a brief overview on us and our proposal. Again, just keeping it brief. My wife and I are from Battle Creek, Michigan. We've been looking to relocate to northern Michigan for a couple of years now. We recently had a daughter who is 1 year or turns 1 year next week. So we're looking for a community, a northern Michigan community to raise our family in. We love preservation. I am on the board for the Michigan Historic Preservation Network. I'm a historically certified architect. We have saved in Battle Creek, Michigan, our home, 3 buildings that were on the demo list. The recent project that we did, the Anson building that's in your packet, you can see one of the images of what it looked like before. It was on the demo list 5 times with 4 different structural engineers that said it was impossible to save. And we just saved it. There are 8 beautiful apartments in it, and on the first floor, a downtown grocery. We had renovated one other building prior that was on the demo list that had been empty for 20 years. It became a wedding venue, co-working space, and brewery. And then the building that we live in, downtown Battle Creek, currently, we live upstairs. There's 2 apartments there and 2 units down below. So we're no strangers to hard work and rehabs and understanding what goes into this. This building in particular sparked us because, again, we love northern Michigan. This is an area where we would love to move to and to have our family at. This is a very important building in the town. It is literally the first thing you see when you come into town from the south. So we understand the importance of that and keeping the character of the home. That is why we have tried to put together a proposal to put as much money into this home to restore that as possible. And then over that garage, we would renovate what is currently a store into 2 workforce apartments. So that was our goal there. We're not trying to do short-term Airbnbs or anything like that. We're trying to make this something where the home remains a home for families, and especially our family that would move into that. And then again, the other above the garage would be 2 other workforce apartments, which we understand the importance of housing in this community, in every community in Michigan. My wife and I have worked together renovating many those buildings in Battle Creek, and then working as an architect to renovate many other projects across the state of Michigan and country. My wife is a social worker by trade, so she takes more of the community development side of things when we work with communities on rehabbing buildings and understanding that, which is why our company in Battle Creek was Restore 269. 269 is our area code, and then our motto is restoring community through building. With that, happy to answer any questions that anyone has.
I guess I have a question. John Murphy. Question, the purchase price was established for what was the asking price, and you have not met that number. Is there anything you want to say about that?
Yes, my wife and I did personally walk through the home. We've provided architectural drawings that are included in there. There is a substantial amount of work that needs to be done to both structures on the site. There was some stone structural work. Both of the porches have rotted wood, as you can see in the packet there. New siding, new roofing. Basically, we ran these numbers backwards, we worked with local contractors up there that we have worked with on other projects to get estimates for everything, to understand what the cost of this is. And then we can only be financed for so much, that they won't let us go underwater on this project per se to be able to do it. And that's why we've been able to come up, the maximum that we could purchase this for would be $500,000, with the 1.2 investment, for a total of $1.7 million being invested into this site. That was the maximum that we could get from a loan standpoint on ours, with putting in almost $500,000 into the project to make it. So we're hoping that either the city or the current owner would be able to work with us to get to that $500,000 number.
Mr. Moore.
Hi, Tina Demore. Good job with the little person there. She's very convincing. How do you define workforce housing in terms of AMI? Average median income.
Yep. We haven't run that specifically for Petoskey yet. And I do apologize. Like, we put together as much as we could in this RFP in about a 3-week period. So we found the RFP. We quickly came up over the holidays to get it and to run that. We would say, like, what we're trying to shoot for is there was going to be a 1-bedroom and a 2-bedroom unit. The 1-bedroom unit, we'd be looking for about $1,000 a month. And the 2-bedroom, we'd be looking at $1,200 to $1,400 a month, depending on how the final layouts go and where the final numbers are. But that was kind of what we were shooting for, which we had found that was, I can't remember specifically offhand. I apologize. They did pull some of that information. I don't have it in front of me, so I can't answer specifically where that falls in the city of Petoskey.
Amenable to a deed restriction on the property in that regard.
Yes. Yep. We would want to, if we did that, we would want to see something where that could increase over time, but we would be more than happy to have that be an agreed upon value. I have no problem with, like, just for inflation and any of those items, and we'd be more than happy to put a deed restriction on too, that the home has to stay a single family residence too.
Donald Trump, I have a couple of questions. Was your intention at all to use this property for the federal or state historical tax credit programs? Were you going to apply and go after that? It's really the total 45% of the cost returned in the credits.
We've done a lot of tax credit projects. State, yes, we would probably pursue the state tax credits on this. Federal will depend on the timing. The issue that we're seeing as an architect, we have 12 projects in the state of Michigan for tax credit review. Typically, their process is 30 days for SHPO to review, the State Historic Preservation Office, and 30 days for the National Park Service. Right now, we're seeing 8 to 10 months for SHPO to review. They are extremely backed up. So we would be interested in that, but I would want to have conversations from a federal standpoint if it is. For the state tax credit, it's about a 3 to 4 month process, and we would definitely be willing to go through that for it.
Do we know if the address is eligible now for the state historical tax credit? and the National Park Service? Do we know if the property is already identified as approved? I guess that would
Yes,
be you, Shane.
I don't know that. I'd have to look at that.
I've done 4 or 5 of these historical tax credits, and they're an amazing incentive.
Mhm.
And, you know, my experience with National Park Service is once SHPO approves, it doesn't take that much longer to get the National Park Service to sign off. So that's
That is correct.
okay. So if you were going to do that, so right now you're currently planning on funding this through the bank, and then whatever you get back as a credit, great, that goes into your pocket later on.
Yeah.
So there would be no structure with the bank that would require the approval of the historical tax credits.
That is correct.
When, city manager, when is our negotiations?
So our 90 days ends March, it's either 3rd or 4th, so we got about another month.
We have another month.
So a couple options to consider. We could go back to the owner and ask for an extension. We could, which we would likely, if I put myself in the owner's shoes, that we're going to pay for that, obviously. Or we could, I still agree that this was a good decision to try to work with the owner to find a partner to lock up the property. I still believe that was a good decision. But maybe now we kind of send it back to the owner and the realtor and let them go through their normal process, let the free market, and let Cody and Caitlin and their group negotiate directly with the owner. They may take what Cody just mentioned, and maybe remove ourselves out of it now and let them negotiate directly with the owner, and that's another option as well.
I think that's a very strong direction to go. I don't think we should be putting city money into this upfront for the purchase. If we do this, we've set a precedence that I do not think is going down the right road. I think sending it back to the owner, and working with you in the future, hopefully, Cody. But I think that would be the best for this, looking out for the city's well-being.
Completely understand.
Mr. Nortrop?
Do we know that based on what Cody wants to do now, it's currently zoned, we don't have to do anything to let him do, if he went to the owner now, bought it for 500,000, got the bank approval, we don't have to do anything as a city to support.
Yeah,
Is that correct?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's zoned to do what he's wanting to do. We would need to look at the 2 units and evaluate that. I'd need to have, planning and zoning take a look at that just to make sure. But I believe everything that he would like to do on that site would be permissible.
We would love to have you up here. You guys seem to know what you're doing. And
We have been looking up north. The problem is we have not found the historic home that we want. And when this RFP came out, we're like, this checks every single one of the boxes, and we're like, this is what we would love to call our home. We'd love to raise our daughter there and to be a part of the community.
I'm understanding why the current owner wouldn't go along with this, because the condition of the property is terrible. And it needs somebody like you with the experience to do it, to make it happen.
And we have some downtown buildings if you're interested too to tackle.
Every project we do, it's funny, the RFP came out for this and we just finished in December our last project, and every time we do this we're like, we are never doing this again. And then 2 months later the RFP came out for this and we're like, we're literally jumping right back into this again. So I would say that we're never going to do that again, and then we'll move up there, and then in a few months we'll probably be like, we found a great building that needs rehabbing, and moved into that. So
I bet you will, Bruce, because you can just tell that your personality, you're a curious person, you would like to solve things and create things, and there's a lot of really homes around that need to be maintained and updated.
Yep. And you have a beautiful downtown too. A wonderful historic downtown there.
To clarify it.
Yeah.
Do we have a motion to send it, back to the current owners?
Need a motion.
Yes, because we had a motion to
I
go.
don't have a resolution, but
We had a motion to get involved with this for the 90-day, and I think we need a motion to get out of the 90-day piece.
So we're really just letting the option expire.
yeah, I don't think we need to take that last month. There's no sense in just holding it, in my opinion. I can get back with the realtor and the owner tomorrow and give them that direction. That way they can proceed. Cody and Caitlin can proceed with dealing directly with the owner and negotiating from there.
Does that sound? Do I have a motion?
What's the motion though?
The motion would be
Just to direct staff to,
terminate the relationship, option, terminate the option. If you have a better word.
I can proceed based on what I've heard.
Well, I'm
tonight,
just
too.
thinking that the option naturally expires and we're not exercising it, so I'm just not sure we need a motion. That's why you see.
If we're holding the option, perhaps the owner would feel better that we are out of the hold on it.
Yeah, closing the option early maybe, or.
So is there any language in the option that just says what's our
Yeah, we
action
just
supposed to be in the, what's
Yeah, I
our
don't have it with
obligation
me.
in the option agreement now?
I didn't bring that with me.
If really all we're doing is, no, it seems like what we're trying to do is to tell the buyer or the owner now,
We're out.
Yeah.
we're out.
Thank you for working with us.
Yeah.
That was certainly very nice of them to do that.
And we
And
found a partner for you. We
Certainly.
found a potential buyer.
Well, and that way somebody else doesn't come back to the city between the next 30 days and we jump into grouping with them. We leave Cody out with the owner. That allows Cody and the owner to do their
Does
discussion.
it make sense that we have a motion to direct the staff to do whatever they need to do to terminate?
terminate the
I
option agreement,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah,
mean, that's pretty simple.
Mr. Moore.
I just wish I had it in front of
The
me,
option.
that's all. I don't know. I'm in a gray zone currently.
From a simplistic
And I can-
standpoint, the option, if you just say the staff is directed to take whatever measure necessary to terminate the option effective. Unless you're saying you want to let it open for another 30 days. I mean, I think that's what we're trying not to do that.
Well, I'm also trying to think through in real time what best facilitates this opportunity for these folks, since we think they're good candidates. And so I'm, again, not certain. I understand why we want to release the option effectively. But again, in real time, I'm just trying to think through it.
Are you wanting us to negotiate price down for him?
No, I'm not thinking that at all.
Now that I kind of know your direction, I can take a look at the option, get with our a city attorney and come up with something that we can respond.
Bring it back for.
Well, I don't know that I need to bring it back. If it's okay, I'll proceed
I
based
want a
on.
motion on this because we had a motion to say.
Well, then we're
with it.
2 weeks. We pushed that 2 more weeks, but it's up to you.
Didn't we did have a motion on that, as I recall.
Yes.
Yes, we did.
But respectfully, it depends what the option says, and we don't know what it says, so the city manager may be able to move forward. I don't know what it says.
Not this one, but one before, you can pull it up.
You have it?
Is that-
I didn't know we were contemplating a motion at this point.
Well, I don't think it will keep
When you do your
the owner and Cody from negotiations and working on this.
If I were Cody, I would get a hold of the owner like right now and start negotiating.
Yeah.
Knowing whether we can do this or not. It sounds like we don't want to pursue the option in any way.
I might have just called.
And so it seems rather simple.
Yeah,
That's right.
right here.
nothing to
Okay.
stop this gentleman from engaging the
Okay.
conversation.
Yeah.
There's,
So it's in that back.
Okay,
if you need something more from us, you will let us know.
Yes, I will.
you're comfortable with that?
Yeah.
You want to speak?
We're gonna s-
Yes, you may. Normally, come on up, give us your full name, full address. Normally, it's not an emotion that is discussed by the public, but feel free to.
My name is Diana Gwinney, and if you need an address, you could put 212 West Mitchell for Young and Meath Homes. I guess my question would be, if you agree to dissolve the current relationship with the homeowners, does that mean that all people? Just to give you a little bit of background on that, there are some local developers that were interested in the property and had conversations, as you well know. And so I just want to make sure I'm clear that other people, and to give you some clarity, because I know you sent us an email about putting in a proposal, and we felt a couple things. One, we had gone before zoning and to request a variance. With the conversations with the homeowner, we wanted to extend the front porches as part of kind of their Jim's overall plan. They weren't for that, which was fine, but when we discussed our kind of grand vision for it, we had talked about offices on the bottom, apartments on the top, and in the extra building, as they mentioned. And so they didn't seem amenable to the building having offices on the bottom and rezoning it, which is part of the reason we didn't put a proposal in. And then also, we didn't feel that 3 weeks gave us adequate time to really get an architect to give you good elevations, good drawings. It was all very rushed. And so we just kind of let it all play out. So that's why we didn't have a proposal in, but I want to make sure that if you dissolve it today, that it would be, everybody could, because right now as it stands, we can't contact the homeowner, right? Because you're in a purchase agreement.
Right,
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to clarify that
Yeah.
part.
We're not in first, we're under an option.
right. Yeah, just an
Okay.
option, yeah.
Okay, it was $2,500 option is, I
Yeah.
guess, the way I was reading. Okay. I just wanted to clarify that so that Jim knew and I knew.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Anything else from the public? No? Okay, so you have directive staff for that, you're good with it? So you're good with it? Okay. Next is city council comment. I'll go to Mr. Nartrab for any public comment he wishes to make at this time.
No comments.
Mr. Moore.
just hoping that the weather cooperates so we can have a youth advisory council meeting. And I don't have to find places to off this chocolate cake for a third time. Because I'd much prefer that high school students consume it. So hopefully our next youth advisory council meeting will be on February 10th with the mayor in attendance. And currently working with these young people to see who will be able to take the opportunity to attend the Michigan Municipal League Capital Conference in Lansing in March. Thank you.
I have a question. How old is this chocolate cake from Monday?
I left it at the city and it is empty.
No, the new one that you're having Monday, because I was just wondering how old that is.
No, it's not gonna make.
Okay, okay.
Number
I thought it was
3.
kicking down the road
No.
another time. I got that. I was worried about that, okay.
No.
Make sure to get out and enjoy the winter sports park. It's spectacular. If you drive up there, by there on the weekends or evening, there's tons of kids, tons of people utilizing it. Make sure, we have the winter sports carnival coming up in a week. Make sure and participate and get out there, cheer on kids, cheer on Cardboard Classic, etc. And with that, also enjoy the Super Bowl next Sunday.
Oh, geez.
There'll be no further business to come before this council. I call this meeting adjourned.